because, we were going to pull out in late spring when it's still cold.
Yep.
People are they're getting through a rough winter. In the middle of August is literally the worst time. But Joe Biden wanted ownership. He wanted to be the guy that said, I did this on 9/11. So he delayed it. I did it on 9/11. He wanted the photo op. It was like Kamala going to the border. She was 1,000 miles away from the border where the real crisis is happening. But, the media will cover her. Look, she's doing her job. She's next in line. She's definitely going to be the next president. First female president. Rah! She was 900 miles away from the actual crisis, the point in McAllen. It was the same thing. Joe Biden wanted that photo op. He wanted to go down as this. So he changed what Trump had sort of negotiated. The other difference is the Taliban looked at Trump and realized, okay, we're not going to be trifle with that guy. They watched Joe Biden give press conferences from an ice cream shop, and they're like, yeah, we can fuck with that guy. He's not going to do anything. He's just a weak guy. And the one thing these guys understand, I would think, and Rob, you can speak to this better, is strength.
Oh, easily. They, the Taliban are tough fighters. They were scared shitless of Bagram Airfield. Scared to death. And that's the first thing you give up.
What is that? What is it?
Bagram Airfield is a Russian airfield that we built up. I mean, to the point of comedy where I'm not kidding about karaoke night and Green Bean.
Don't they have it wasn't bad. Thick runways so you can literally land
anything,
the moon?
Anything there. Yeah. And you got to figure, so that there's, I don't know, maybe 4 or 6 airstrips, jets everywhere, bombers everywhere, pilots, aircrew, security, Marines, soldiers. Everything is right there. And you got to figure, you have Bagram Airfield, you have access, a footprint for Russia, for Iran, for China, who's going to take it, by the way, watch and see. Yeah. Oh, and the Taliban won't fuck with China. You know why? Because China will kill you. And we're at the point now where we're saying, well, the Taliban are assuring us they're going to allow safe passage of civilians to the airport. On what fucking planet are you living? Yeah. First of all, they're
going to honor women's rights. That was the one I saw today. I'm like,
horrifying.
Really? Like the same people that throw gays off buildings, that enslave and rape women and children on a daily basis, they're going to honor women's rights. But more importantly, the Taliban yesterday, they called out Joe Biden, be like, well, Joe Biden gave this speech and he left. Like, we're here answering questions. They called out Facebook and big tech you guys are the ones suppressing free speech. We're here answering questions. And as much as I don't want to give the Taliban credit for anything, they're not wrong. That's how insane our world has gotten.
It's backwards.
It's like the Taliban is calling us out for being oppressive.
Yes, the Taliban call us oppressive.
I mean, it's, you're living in the Matrix, but they're not wrong.
No, they're not wrong. One thing funny, though, just to get a little humor in there, someone did send me a picture of those dudes in the weight room that we just gave back, and he's on the treadmill. They're like, so what's this guy doing on the treadmill? I'm like, well, based on what I know of these people, he's trying to figure out a way to either eat it or fuck it.
Got it. So what's
why not?
So 3.5 years. So there's 3.5 years left of Biden, right?
Yeah.
So what's the play? So
think about that. I mean, if you look at our border, right, humanitarian crisis, you have kids in cages. We didn't build the cages, but it was a really big deal that there were a couple of kids in cages. Now you have kids in cages that are 700, 1,000% overflowing, right? COVID positive up to 18, 19% statistic I read, and they're just releasing them into McAllen, Texas. Like, again, if it were Trump, what would they be saying? Mm-hmm. Just like Obama built the cages, but that was not a problem. Trump using those cages, a huge problem. Joe Biden getting them and having them at overflow capacity in the middle of a pandemic, sick, and releasing them into society, not a problem. Just like if you're in New York right now, you need a vaccine passport to go to work, to go to dinner, to go out. But if you're COVID positive in McAllen, Texas, they'll just release you into society and you can go do whatever you want. It's an honor system. Just try not to go near anyone. Like, you think that's going to work? I mean, there's just a hypocrisy that is just so flagrant these days. It's so glaring. And yet, again, no one's calling it out. It's perhaps why, I've been able to create a decent presence on social media because I'm one of the guys. Again, like, hey, Rob's done a great job of that. I mean, and by the way, he calls out, the bullshit on both sides. And by the way, even I do too, because I mean, there's plenty of these establishment Republicans that I'm like, guys, like, you go and you wax poetic, when you're at a fundraiser talking conservative stuff, and then you go to DC and you fold so that some douchebag at Politico doesn't write a mean article about you. I'm like, that's not who I want representing me either. Like, I want values and I want resolve, not sound bites and talking points.
Right.
One thing I want to know is like how much authority does Biden have when it comes to like pulling those troops out? Like, is that all his decision?
It can be with the commander in chief. He's the commander of all the forces. And like I said, if the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and National Security Advisor says one thing, the president can say, no, we're not doing that. We're doing this. But there should have been. I hope there were people around him saying this is a horrible idea. because it's not gonna end well. And if we can't get our 10,000 Americans out, we're jumping troops back in.
Well, it seems like some of the stuff I've read is that people were advising him, like, don't change the existing plan. You know what I mean? Make sure there's conditions. But again, he wanted to change it to make it his own. He wanted to get the full credit for that. So now he owns that shit.
He's going to own it forever. It's worse than the fall of Saigon.